like everybody is just about in their seats, and it's just about 3:30 by my watch, and I think my watch is a minute or two slow. So I just wanted to first, our administrator, Joe Riley, has asked me to welcome you to USDA's beautiful Jefferson Auditorium in this 24th annual Morris Hansen Lecture. I have 2 or 3 privileges and a couple of house cleaning, but our real privilege today is introducing 2 of the Hansen family, Margaret Hansen and Heidi Harrison, and Mr. Brent. Mr. Brent Hare sends his regrets and hopes to join us next year, and also Mrs. Evelyn Hansen Allen. She has been ill recently and wasn't able to attend, and she very much regretted it, but said she'll be sure to be here next year. So if you know Miss Allen, please send her a get well card. And then the next little thing I just want to make sure we do is Joe Riley, our administrator now, stand up and wave to everybody. And our associate administrator, Renee Picanso, is at the back coming down. I just wanted to introduce those 2 because I believe Mr. Riley was our administrator last year, but our new associate administrator, Renee Picanso. Okay, to take care of some housekeeping things, if you have a new iPhone 6 and you've set up your thumbprint, please put your thumb on there and turn your volume down. If you don't, type in that long password and turn your volume down, and so we won't disrupt the speakers. The second item, there's no eating or drinking in the Jefferson Auditorium unless you happen to be a speaker with your own name on your water bottle. So then you get it this afternoon. The next thing is there are restrooms and water fountains just outside the next wing down, just inside that wing. So if you take a break there, you have that opportunity. And let's see what else is on my list today. Oh, a very important item. There will be a reception in the Jefferson, in the Whitten building patio. And so the way we like to do this is kind of like a cattle drive. We'll have someone out at the end, he'll lead us over, and the rest of it just follow the person in front of us. And in case you get sidetracked there, if you take any stairs down, which are just inside the wings, in either 5, 4, or 3, and then there's a tunnel that goes across at wing 3 over to the Whitten patio, and when you come back up the stairs, you'll see the patio, and you'll be able to smell the food and see the wine, and you'll be ready to go. And finally, I'd like to take a minute to recognize there's many USDA staff that help put this on each year, and if you see one of those individuals, please thank him, but I'd like to recognize 3 people, and that's Miss Bessie Johnson. And I don't think she's here today. She's across the street working on the reception, and Mrs. CZAJKA, and I haven't seen Famita in a minute ago, and then Miss Ann Sutton, and they have been very key in the hundreds of steps here at USDA to make sure this all runs smoothly, and we greatly appreciate their efforts. So from there, John, I think I'm going to turn it over to the program chair this year, John Scheiter. And John, and again, welcome to USDA.
Good afternoon. Okay, we do have an interpreter here, and so if you won't hear this, but you need to see him, you can move over to this area, or you know someone who needs to see him. As chair of the Morris Hansen Lecture Committee, I'm very happy to welcome you here today to the 24th, if you can believe that, annual Morris Hansen Lecture. As you may be aware, especially if you've read the program or the literature, the Hansen Lecture Series was established by the Washington Statistical Society in 1990, shortly after Morris's death, with a financial grant from WSDA that was renewed or expanded in 1996 and 2006. The lecture series was created to honor Morris Hansen, a former WSDA chairman of the board. His pioneering contributions to survey sampling and related statistical methods during his long and distinguished career both at the Census Bureau and at WSDA established many standards, methods that are still in use for conducting surveys. I'll say a little bit more about Morris Hansen, but first I'd like to make a few introductions. First, I would like to thank the members of the Hansen Committee for their work in in organizing this year's lecture. The lecture committee includes a representative of WSDAC, who is Keith Rust. It includes a representative also of the National Agricultural Statistics Service, which is Mark Harris, from whom you just heard. In addition, there are 4 members who are appointed by the Washington Statistical Society, and these 4 members each serve a 4-year term. In the 3rd year, the member is chair, so this is my lucky year. The other 3 WSS committee members currently are Don Malik from the National Center for Health Statistics, who is in his 4th year, so he gets to move off of the committee pretty soon. Eric SLUD from the Census Bureau and the University of Maryland, who will be becoming chair very shortly. This transition happens pretty soon after this talk. And Barry Graubard from the National Cancer Institute. I would also like to introduce our newest member who will join the committee fairly shortly when Don rotates off, Frauke Kreuter from the University of Maryland Joint Program and Survey Methodology, who I think is out here somewhere. I also want to acknowledge Shelley Rose from Mathematica, who is the chair of the Social Arrangements Committee, which puts together the reception that you'll be attending. It's really the finest reception WSS does all year. I also want to acknowledge in our audience a few members of the AP Statistics class from the Edinburgh School in Washington, D.C., and their teacher, Rachel Braun, who are seated back there. I think this may be a first, and it is nice to be reaching this younger group if you look at some of the rest of us here. I have one other announcement that I was asked to make on behalf of our sponsor, one of our sponsors at WSS. The WSS is starting a mentorship program this year and notes that mentoring can be helpful to enriching to people at any point in their career. There's some general information on mentoring on the table outside the auditorium, and there will be an announcement about the program in the March newsletter of the WSS, and also an announcement on the WSS webpage. And you can look for, if you know them, Mark Otto, Jackie McCarthy, or Tom Prensky at the reception if you have any questions. Well, quoting from a brief biography by Joe Waxberg and Ed Goldfield on Morris Hansen. Morris Hansen was the most influential statistician in the evolution of survey methodology in the 20th century. Hansen prodded, that's their term, the Census Bureau, into accepting such innovations as the purchase of the first computer for statistical purposes, UNIVAC 1, the development of optical scanning equipment, the introduction of self-enumeration in mail in both demographic and economic censuses. He anticipated the concern that would arise about the level of coverage in censuses and persuaded the Bureau to adopt procedures to address those concerns. He also helped to introduce sampling into the decennial census and what began as a labor force census but evolved into the monthly current population survey. Much of what we know about sample survey theory and methodology was developed by Morris Hansen. Upon his retirement from the Bureau of the Census in 1968, Hansen was invited by Edward Bryant, president of a young company at the time called WSDAC, to join that organization, which he did. When Ed Bryant retired from active participation in the company, Hansen was elected chairman of the board of directors. He also made major contributions to statistics while working there. These included his work on the Consumer Price Index and his efforts to develop methods for quality control in federal welfare programs run by the states. Morris was also active professionally. In addition to receiving many honors, he was president of the American Statistical Association in 1960. He was also the first president of the International Association of Survey Statisticians, which he helped to found from 1973 to 77. I don't know about the WSS, but I can't imagine that in his long career he wasn't president of this organization for at least some time. His biographers note that Morris never retired. His last paper with Ben Tepe appeared only a week before his death and was published in the September 1990 issue of JASA. Don't we all wish that we could achieve that? The very first Hansen lecture in 1991 was given by Fred Smith of the University of Southampton, which is also one of the affiliations of our speaker today, Danny Pfeffer. I guess we've come full circle in some sense. I'll now turn the podium over to Eric SLUD, who will introduce Dr. Pfefferman and the two discussants. Thanks.
Thank you and welcome to this 24th Hansen lecture. Our speaker today, Danny Pfefferman, has had a distinguished career in survey statistical methodology and official statistics. He's currently Professor of Statistics at the University of Southampton, UK, the Statistical Sciences Research Institute, and Professor Emeritus at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. And since 2013, is the government statistician of the State of Israel, which means he's also the head of the Israel Central Bureau of Statistics. He's a 1978 PhD from Hebrew University, Jerusalem. His long and active career has bridged academic statistical theory and work for national statistical agencies. He's regularly taught the topic of small area estimation and has consulted often for UK Office of National Statistics and the Bureau of Labor Statistics in the US on related problems. His work coupling time series and survey estimation methods is well known in that connection. Other areas in which his work on survey statistics theory has been influential has been survey estimation in multi-level models and under conditions of informative sampling, and on the proper role of weights in survey inference and model-based methods for smoothing. He's a fellow of the American Statistical Association and an elected member of the ISI, and was president in 2011 to 2013 of the International Association of Survey Statisticians. Today, he will deliver his Hansen lecture on methodological issues and challenges in the production of official statistics.